Hi, this is Suzanne.
And John.
And we are here with the Flex Phi Life. We're going to talk today about what is Phi and what is the stages of Phi. And we just threw this little slideshow together just to show, so you have something to look at besides our faces. And we're going to talk about financial independence. And the reason that we're so focused on this is I'm getting older in my life.
Because I want to be financially independent.
You do?
Yeah.
Me too. Okay, so what is financial independence? And so we've been talking about this for years, and we actually looked up the definitions and had to define it on paper, air quotes. State where an individual has enough income to cover the living expenses. So most people say that this is retirement. So if you are financially independent earlier in life, do you have to retire?
You do not have to retire.
No.
Actually, most people that say that they are financially independent before retirement have other sources of income still coming in.
Right. And so it's just more security, and they talk about having FU money, which is financial money, but you can substitute another word that I won't say here.
Yeah.
And don't want to say. But it covers their living expenses without being employed or financial support from others. So there's different types of financial independence, but why do you want to start saving? And I think we have this in common, is you wanted to change the trajectory of your kids' future.
So yeah, I wanted to leave more of a legacy, and I wanted to have the retirement, but I also wanted to have my kids like kind of set up for when they become like parents, and
they don't have to struggle as much as we do.
Well, yeah, I want them to be able to like take care of me.
And so with your money or their money?
Well, both.
So Bill and I talked about on an earlier podcast, helped our parents out, and my mom, and we were talking about this last night, is my mom and my father-in-law. My mother-in-law passed away in 2015. And so my father-in-law lost the small amount of Social Security that she was getting. It was like $600. It wasn't very much, but it made a huge impact on their budget. And
looking at those numbers, it would make a huge difference.
It did.
For sure.
It made a huge difference. But both of them, we were very grateful that they both had their house paid for. But you talk about the maintenance bills and stuff. This is not a lot of money to live on, and the cost of groceries, the cost of insurance, everything goes up.
Yeah, but Social Security doesn't really go up. It doesn't go up at the same rate as inflation.
They give you a raise, but then they take it away for insurance costs.
Yeah.
So let's say you got a $100 raise, and then they go, oh, you got this amazing raise, but then the part that they pay for their Part B goes up and takes that, so they really didn't get a raise. And so it's a way of Social Security giving themselves a raise, basically. We're increasing Social Security, but is it really thing? So we looked up some statistics. John?
So the average age of retirement for men is actually 65 years old. It seems that men tend to work a little bit longer, but women tend to retire a little bit sooner. It said 62 to 63 years old was the normal retirement age for women, but men tended to work a little bit longer.
I wonder if this has got to do with like Bill and I are 2 years apart, so he would retire at 65 and we want to travel or whatever. I'm saying traditionally, and I would be 63 or something. I wonder if that's like the average. We didn't look that up, but I wonder if that has anything to do with it. It typically... traditionally, let's go backwards because we're looking at people who are that age or older now.
Yeah.
So the statistics might change.
Maybe they married a little bit older, like men were a little bit older than the women they married.
Yeah. And this may not always be these statistics, but we're looking at statistics right now.
Right.
This was pretty shocking, don't you think?
This was somewhat surprising. So the average or median retirement savings for the retirees was $165,000. So most people that retire, or the median, so the middle, so it's not the average, but the median retirement savings was $165,000.
So somebody that has a really, really high savings could offset this by somebody who has low to no savings.
Well, the median, so
Yeah.
the middle.
Yeah.
Not the average, but the middle
Right.
of all retirees was 165,000.
And so that's a great number. Having 165,000 is certainly better than not having saved at all, because when we move on to some of these statistics, 90% of retirees rely on their Social Security income to make it.
Yeah. So almost 90% of all retirees rely on some part of Social Security.
Social insecurity. They always say it's not going to be there. So
Well, yeah.
that's why I just put this little pun in there. Is my whole life, and I'm 11 years away from being 65. They've said it won't be there, it won't be there, and we ran out in 20 whatever, and it won't be there in the future. But I really believe if you pay in all these FICA taxes, which we'll get into in some further podcasts of how much you have to pay into, you should get something back from it. If you've invested that money in the government, that should come back to you. And how many people rely solely?
So 50% rely solely on Social Security. They have nothing in their retirement. So 50% of people only have the Social Security income. There's no other retirement savings.
So scary, because you look at those, we'll look at the average income that's Social Security, and then only 10% rely on other income as their primary source, meaning it's larger, more prominent, more plays more into their retirement.
They don't rely on Social Security at all.
Right, so 10%, so 1 out of 10 people. So looking at this, here's our example, and this came from the Social Security website, is claiming age at 62, you get a reduced amount for taking Social Security at 62.
Right.
And you get 30% reduction from full retirement age.
Right.
And most people my age and up, it did change over the time. It used to be 65, and then they phased that out quickly and made it like 66 and so many months and all that kind of crap.
They changed that a little bit, and that's what the FRA is, full retirement age.
Full retirement age. And so if you wait till 70, then your average monthly benefit is $2,480. And it shows what you max out here is $2,700, $3,800, and $4,800 at those ages. So we're going to talk about some strategies either in this podcast or later on.
So for every year over 67, you got an 8% bump.
Which is nice.
Yeah.
But most people that I know, and Bill and I are quite a bit younger than our siblings, some of our oldest siblings, and it is, everybody's like, I'm going to take it at 62 because I don't know if I'm going to make it.
Right.
I don't want to wait till 67. What if I never make it to 67 or 70?
Yeah.
To me, I'm going to live to 90. My mom made it to 90.
Right.
My father-in-law made it to 89. So Bill and I are planning on a nice, long...
Right. Retirement.
Healthy
retirement.
Yeah, I want. That's what I'm praying for. So this goes right along that individual statistic. That's almost exactly what my mom was getting, is that lower amount on the individual.
Right.
But this is your average Social Security yearly benefit
at age 62.
Yeah, and like we talked about, it's reduced at age 30. So this is just some of the definitions again. If you can wait from 67 to 70, you have other means of income, or you're withdrawing out of your Roth account, or all these kind of different accounts.
Right.
But I was talking to John, it's a huge, huge deficit when you have two older people who are on Social Security. And even if it's the one who makes less on Social Security, because you'll draw half of the higher earner's benefit,
right,
it makes a huge difference in your monthly budget.
Absolutely.
So you can see that on couple versus individual, or somebody who's trying to live, who is
or
single.
Heaven forbid you got like sick in your last couple of years that you were planning to work. If you were planning to work like up until you were 67 or 65, and then you had to take your benefits early.
Yeah.
Because you couldn't work anymore.
Exactly. And it takes forever to get on disability with Social Security, and we don't want anybody to be on disability because we don't want you hurting and not being. You've waited all this time to get to retirement, so let's do our FI money earlier. So definition.
So this is how they say to save for your expenses, right? So this is what they're saying is how you save $1 million into your 4% rule.
Yeah.
To be able to, for 30 years, be able to withdraw 4% over a 30-year period. And there's very few times that you would actually lose money or end up at $0 after 30 years of withdrawing. So if you can save up 25 times your expenses,
To calculate your FI number.
right?
So what John's saying is, you say, oh wow, I need $1 million. And what would that $1 million do? On the 4% rule, you could safely withdraw $40,000 a year.
Yeah.
So let's say you want $2 million because you're bougie.
Well, I'm super bougie. I would need a little bit more than that, I think.
That's why we're still working, right?
Yeah, super.
Super bougie. But let's go back, John. If you add 40,000, if you have $1 million in retirement, and I'm not saying retire early, retire late, whatever, and you are drawing 33 to 40,000, that supplements this Social Security income to where, as a couple, you could be making 73,000 to 80,000 and
Right.
have a little bit nicer lifestyle. Or if you're single, you're making 56 to 73,000 a year.
Right, and this 4% rule applies to the S&P 500, right? Or
It's-
basically taking it out of the stock market,
The
or
four-
total stock market.
The 4% rule is you're trying to calculate. So if I say how much money do I need to retire at 35, because there's people who do it,
Yeah,
then they're going to have a higher number because they're not going to be supplementing Social Security.
right.
So they use the 4% rule to say, oh, I can live on 40,000 a year because I'm a minimalist. I don't have very much expenses. I don't care about driving a brand new car every year. All those kind of things. It gives them time to withdraw from that and not ever really touch the principal, because if the stock market or whatever you're investing in, real estate, whatever, is drawing 8% and you withdraw 4%,
Right.
then you're never really touching the principal.
And there's been a couple of studies. This study that we're kind of referencing was from the 80s.
80s to early
Excuse me.
90s. The
80s or 90s, and this was actually repeated within the last 10 years, and it was actually a little bit better than that 80s and 90s study
Yeah.
that was done. It actually showed that it was actually a little bit better, and you could actually withdraw a little bit more. But that takes into account the last 10 or 15 years of kind of bull run. So you have to be careful of what it accounts for. So if we had like a downturn of multiple years that we haven't kind of accounted for in the last 10 or 15 years. So everything, takes into account history. So we've had some like really good years. So if for some reason something changed in the next few years, that would then have to go into that equation too. So everything kind of takes into account history. So
If you can adjust what you're withdrawing, so let's say the market isn't doing good. If you could flex down to 30,000 a year,
yeah,
and then you go, oh, it's a nicer year, I'm gonna flex up to
Right.
maybe 4.5%, 5%.
right,
But yeah, 5% safe withdrawal has been advised several times to several people. I've been with financial planners recently, and 5% would be $50,000. So that's just a quick and easy number, $1 million. We're not saying you have to save $1 million. We're just saying this is how you'll hear it talked about a lot in the financial
it's a
independence.
nice easy
Easy
number to look
calculation.
at.
So if you have $1 million in real estate, or if you should be drawing even more than the stocks, is from what I've read, and you might have a higher yearly income than this. But this is the definitions of some of the FIs. So we were talking about this, and we're like, Barista FI. I think this all originated from people were going to go work at Starbucks and get a part-time job,
Yeah.
because then they could qualify for health benefits, and that would lower this number quite a bit. If you were retiring early, you could get your health insurance at work, and that
Right.
would offset your healthcare costs. So Barista FI is reaching partial FI but you need the job for some kind of benefits.
Yeah, either the benefits or just a little bit of that income to be able to offset that 30 or 40,000 that you need, or if you have a little bit higher of an expense that's still coming out that would be paid off in the next 5 years, and then
Yeah.
that after that expense, then you don't have those extra expenses anymore. So
Maybe you have a
Yeah.
kid in college. I like Barista Fi because it gives you more options. So you don't have to do the complete, I've got this amount of money saved. It gives you flexibility.
right.
And so you could work a part-time job. John and I are both nurse anesthesiologists, nurse anesthetist, and I work with an anesthesiologist. And he goes, "I'm gonna Uber. I'm gonna be an Uber driver, and I won't have all the responsibility." So it might be that you just change careers because you don't have to do your high-stress job. You can go to something that you can make your own schedule, turn on your meter when you want to, so to speak.
Or we can just go really part time with this. I mean, we
Yeah.
could do 10 or 13 weeks a year if we wanted to. and
Right.
That's
You have
enough.
options. That's all we're saying is we want to give you options. So lean fi,
So Lean Fi is achieving the financially independent with a just very frugal lifestyle. But the problem with Lean Fi is if you achieve it with a frugal lifestyle, that means you're basically continuing that frugal lifestyle.
Yeah.
So if you're always super frugal, you don't have the ability to like plus that up unless all of a sudden you hit that bull run and all of a sudden your
Your investments are doing
finances
better.
and your investments continue to expand that significantly.
yeah.
So that's where we kind of run into the problem of, are you ever going to get to, the truly rich life that you dreamed of or imagined to make?
I think some people are afraid of lean fi and they get into that one more year syndrome
Oh yeah, definitely.
that we talk about in the FI community is I don't want to be lean. I don't want to be lean fi. I want to have a little in case money. Oops, we skipped one. Coast fi. And this is what I calculated out and talked to Bill about, and he was comfortable with. Is I wanted to get my student loans. I had $300,000 undergrad and grad school of student loans when I graduated, and I was 1 month from turning age 38. So I'm like, I need the time in the market to to have those investments grow.
Right.
And I wanted to get in 12 years my student loans paid off and enough money invested in retirement that I would be around 52
Right.
and I could be coast fi. And that's where I was saving very aggressively. So we would take everything that I made out of my check and we would pay off bills and we would put it into retirement or investments. And that was so that it could grow and it could be in the market or it could be in an investment longer. And then we could just coast. And I'm not saying we never work again or anything like that, but I wouldn't have to put it into retirement again.
Yeah, it makes it a little bit easier when you don't have to come up with an extra 20-30% to put into your investments.
Yeah,
So
you can
you're
make
not
less.
stressing as much.
Right, right. Now I'm not saying we stopped after 12 years. We got in. It's kind of addicting once you get into investments. Is okay. Now what do I want to do? And you have a little bit of money sitting in your solo 401k or your IRA or whatever, and you find an investment or investments find you sometimes.
Yeah.
And
All of a sudden, you start noticing all the opportunities.
yes, you're exposed to more too. People that you're around is going, hey, did you hear about this oil and gas?
There's always an opportunity.
Always an opportunity. And so fat fi, here's our little piggy bank. It's about
you
to
talking
explode.
about me?
No, you're not fat at all. No. I'm saying you're trying to get to fi with a higher standard of living and a larger income. So you don't want
Oh
to be
man, I wish you were talking about me now.
you don't want to be a minimalist. You don't want to if I have that AC break, do I have to put that in my budget and then, paying payments or whatever.
Right.
You want that extra security because usually people who are getting into the FI area of life, unless you started really early and you had parents that just, boom, 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 started saving when you were 8 and 1, like your kids, is they get it into it in the FI into the 40s, into the 50s, and then they want a little bit of a nicer standard. They've gotten used to a little bit having a little wiggle room in their money,
Right.
and they want more money. So you can get in any FI, you can get into the 1 more year syndrome because you're in your high earning years.
Absolutely.
And so you've made it to your career. You're sought after. You're making your highest earned income in your early 50s, traditionally in your 50s. So I'm just telling you, this is one of the FI options. I wanted to say, what are you saving for? What's your motivation? What's your objective in putting money away? And start small. Just start saving. You say $1 million is a lot of money. Yeah, it's a lot of money, but it's achievable. The earlier you start, the more you save. Start that 401k, because like my son who's in his 20s, I'm like, son, do you not want a 3%, 5% raise? What does your company offer? And so he's like, what are you talking about, Mom? I'm like, you're leaving money on the table. So do you not want to make 3 or 5% more money? And he's like, how do I do that? And you put your money away into your 401k, and it could be 3%.
It could be 30, 50% more money.
Yeah, but by the time it grows up and he's in his 50s, then he's done a lot more. And that money has grown over 30, 40 years.
Absolutely.
And every dollar in your 20s, they say statistically, turns into $88 in retirement.
Outstanding.
So start early. And if you haven't started early, just start. I don't care how old
Gotta
you
start
are.
somewhere.
You got to start somewhere.
Start by liking and subscribing.
There you go.
All right.
Thanks for joining us today.
All right. Take care.